And then we went to Iraq in 2003, or I did, and we did 13 months there.
You were just doing, you were piloting helicopters
Yes,
throughout this
I
whole
was
time?
flying helicopters.
Which kind of helicopters?
OH-58D. It's no longer in service, but you call it a scout helicopter, and it's reconnaissance. It flies in front of the troops. And
Is it armed?
yes,
Heavily?
Well, 50 caliber machine gun and 3 rockets or 2 missiles.
Okay.
But
Not quite like an Apache or something.
no,
like
not
that,
quite
but
as heavy as an Apache at all.
you can fend people off if you need to.
And not as heavy as the drones now. The drones now can carry so much more. In fact, the drones have pretty much replaced most of the mission that my helicopter used to do because it's safer, and I can't argue with that. And then,
So tell us about the experience in Iraq.
oh wow, that's 55 Celsius. I don't know what that is anymore in Fahrenheit.
It's hot.
It's very hot. Let's say 116 degrees, if anybody can imagine that, but not in shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah.
You're in full military gear with the gloves and the helmet, and in the case of pilots, with the flight helmet and a vest and everything. And it was a harrowing experience, especially in the early parts. There were no rules, no...
Well, you had missions, right? I mean,
yes, we're just searching for things and seeing if anybody's doing anything. So
How's
You were like a police force.
yeah, we're the occupation force, as you would call it.
Occupational
Yes,
force.
so we were flying around, making sure no one was attacking anybody. Basically, like if the ground soldiers call saying they need assistance, we go there and assist them in any way.
Now, did you have the opportunity to speak with any local Iraqis while you were there, or were you secluded to the base?
I found a way to do it, and that's because to try to help the locals, they would let local Iraqis actually open up little shops on our base. And there was a couple guys that made food for us. And the ones that I started speaking to were these men that made tailored suits. And I like suits. And I collect them from different countries. And this man made me a nice suit that I still have to this day. And I asked him, you're a very good tailor. How long have you been a tailor? And he said, no, I'm a university professor in physics. I'm just doing this to make some money from you and the Americans because we can't operate the university right now. There's a war going on. That really woke me up, the situation. And you understand war, but what the civilians are going through.
Yeah.
Did you get a feel from the local people? I mean, how did they look at you? When they saw army guys with guns and camo policing the area, were they hopeful in the beginning?
That's a good question, Vince. Because I was there for more than one tour, in the beginning they were hopeful.
They were.
They felt we were there to help. But then when we didn't leave, they started getting resentful. I think any country would be. You claim they would be there to liberate, and they're liberated, and we're still there. And then trying to establish a new government, trying to establish their army and infrastructure. And then people started rising up against both the U.S. forces, and then there were outside forces influencing that as well.
So you were there during the sectarian violence.
Exactly, and that was a really difficult one. Yeah, Sunnis versus Shiites versus, and then the Kurds in the north. And I don't think...
What were your missions like during that phase?
It was very confusing. We're trying to keep them from fighting each other, but at the same time, they wanted to fight us too. So you're trying to be the peacemaker, but you're also viewed as the enemy.
Is it hard to choose a side? Not necessarily for you, but for the officers and for the people making decisions back home.
I still don't quite understand what was going on there, to be honest with you, because we didn't understand enough of their culture. I think you really, if you're going to be involved in the country's politics and trying to reshape it, you should really know. I did not know there's Sunnis and Shiites and Kurds. I learned that after I was there. And what feelings they have for each other or dislikes, and that it's not
centuries old rivalry.
Exactly. It's not like anything you see in the movies where you just have a good guys and bad guys, opposing army, and
it's
good guys.
Clear cut.
It was very clear cut, and it wasn't like that at all. Even in Korea, we had North and South Korea. It was clear. But this was something completely confusing, and who to help, who's our allies, who's the enemy. And they had no army to fight against us with. They were basically guerrilla warfare. So there was civilians dressed up. I mean, they had no uniforms. They had no markings. So it's just whenever violence flared up somewhere, we tried to react to it and try not to hurt as many locals as possible. But you don't know, because it is the locals that are doing it. But they blended in with.
Did you change at all during this time, like your mindset or how you viewed the world or humanity?
Well, I changed how I viewed war. I think all of us, all we knew about war was what you see in movies and TV, unless you had family that was in the Vietnam War, which...
So this romantic view of what
exactly.
you were doing. Yeah.
And I didn't quite understand the feeling of Vietnam veterans coming back, because, as you know, there was a negative stigma with that war, but I didn't have family involved in that because we immigrated from the Philippines. So after that, I got a little bit better feeling that war is not like TV and movies. It's a traumatic thing. People die, and they don't die like on TV. It's a slow and painful and gruesome thing to see, and you don't know why sometimes, because it's not clear cut, and that really changed the way I thought about things. And so it made me, shall we say, do my homework more on everything ever since then, because I got involved with something that I didn't quite understand.
Can you talk about some of the other soldiers you served with, particularly people that were in your squadron or platoon, whatever you call it?
Yeah, squadron. And
what did you see happen to them?
of course, we had this high stress level. Some became very anti-war, and they left the military soon after. Others
Did they complain like during a mission? Or?
yes, yeah, we would have some gripes about it, because we couldn't see a clear-cut end to this. It wasn't like World War II. If you defeat Hitler or Japan,
we're moving past a certain point,
and
the war is coming to an end.
Right. This seemed like something that would just go endlessly, and as you know,
morale drops.
yes, and it continued long after I left, and Afghanistan still continues. And if you can imagine, I'm just speaking for myself, if you know every other year you're going back there and you're not seeing what you think is progress, maybe a politician would say that I don't see the big picture, but all I know is that every other year I'm going back there, and I'm not really sure why or what we're accomplishing. And so that led to me to leave, which some of my other colleagues did too, and the others stayed. They believed, and I respect them for that too, but some didn't believe, and just had a difference of opinion, you might say. But we all did our time.